The I-80 Harvest Tour is sponsored by the Enlist Weed Control System from Dow AgroSciences, a new herbicide and trait system that will build on glyphosate.
As harvest comes to a close, farmers across the U.S. have had another roller coaster year. From the drought and heat this summer to hurricanes this fall, Ag Day national reporter Tyne Morgan tells us crops have been resilient and yields are a pleasant surprise.
Thanks, Clinton. Well, 2012 was definitely a rough year. As you can see by this cornfield I'm standing in, this corn is only shoulder high. It usually would be as tall as my head. But let's see how yields were all across I-80 this summer despite that extreme drought and heat. As the corn rushes into the semi, the sound came as a relief to many farmers this year. The scorching temperatures combined with little moisture left crops parched, struggling to survive.
We didn't really think we would have any crop at all by the way it looked at the end of June.
The impact of this year's brutal weather has been evident in the corn yields.
The corn, the worst we've had is like 55. The best we've had is about 180.
We're 100% done with our corn harvest. We got a 62 bushel average with a 149 5-year rolling average.
In USDA's November first crop production report, the department slightly raised its national corn forecast to just over 122 bushels per acre. If that materializes, this means the 2012 national average corn yield will be the lowest in 6 years. While some farmers saw a better than expected corn crop flood into the grain cart this year, variability has been the name of the game.
Right now the yields monitor is reading well, it just jumped up into the 190s actually. But it's staying in the 170s and 180s.
Yields are pretty decent. You know, on average, I've been running about 150 bushel across the board right now, but you're seeing an extreme variability. You know, I've been in stuff that's below 100 bushel and I've been in stuff that's well over 200 bushel.
I think, considering the severity of the drought, that I'm very pleased that we have a crop to harvest. Surprised that we're only off 50 bushels an acre. Surprised that there are some places that are still having an average yield. It's a nice surprise.
One scary factor weighing on many of their minds has been the threat of aflatoxin in their drought-stricken corn.
That thing is like chasing a ghost almost to see what you have, try to determine whether you need to leave strips, how we're going to deal with it. It's still a bit of a question mark for me on exactly what we're going to do.
The soybean crop along I-80 is having a much happier ending, even with the extreme variability.
The beans have been the low end 40, the high end 70, so it's kind of been all over.
Mother Nature finally delivered some much needed moisture late in the season. While it was too late to save much of the corn crop, it put some hope back into the soybeans.
That late rain, those three are big beans.
Pod counts are on the later beans are phenomenal. That's why we're getting the yields that we are.
USDA also raised its national soybean yield forecast 1.5 bushels from the previous month to just over 39 bushels per acre. This is still a couple bushels lower than last year's average, but better than farmers like Lance Scott anticipated earlier this summer.
And the soybeans didn't fill out, and we were pretty concerned. And it seemed like in about a 10-day to 2-week span there in August, we really filled things out. And there's some missing beans, but we're still amazed at how they filled out later on in the season.
While harvest has been a relief,
It's dry.
These farmers know if much needed moisture doesn't come this winter, the spring could create even bigger challenges.
We're going to be in a similar situation we were in central Illinois this year by the lack of soil moisture starting the crop of 2013.
Well, as you just heard, all across I-80 this summer, farmers experienced drought, they experienced heat, but despite all that, yields turned out pretty good. From the I-80 Harvest Tour, I'm Tyne Morgan for Ag Day.